My fallen off channel is very much fallen off. And I have to accept that. Eventually occupation gets out. The Germans will also elevate all countries who joined the war into EU first-tier citizens. After all, so with these areas now becoming first citizens by Germany, this would cause known as the legal wars of Europe. After this, German troops are forced to fight another war, this time against their former ally. Almost all countries who joined the war formally were quick for Abkhazia because Abkhazia didn't do basically anything. Joined the war against the other first two raids. The originals believe that this just doesn't make sense. The first tier and second tier sisters systems don't work anymore. Now a lot of countries have equal Senate. They don't want that. The French want. The French, the Belgians, the Luxembourgians want power now. And the Germans. At, at first, they are actually good because most of the German militaries is still up in Russia. But they quickly return after Spain gets cooked alive by Portugal, by the Portuguese and the French troops. By the Battle of the Elbe after the fall. Elbe would cause some encirclements here to actually get some relief aid. So basically, and due to these defeats, the Germans are basically able to cook the French, causing this to be a pretty one-sided war. I mean, all of Europe versus these guys. I mean, but the French want to nuke Rome because they're Catholics. Remember, they nuked Berlin, Vienna, not Cologne too because of the cathedral, Hamburg, Kiev. They nuke a lot out of Protestants. Uppsala, Malmo, basically every bunch of nukes are thrown here. The whole point is to turn these areas into a nuclear wasteland. But by this point, the French have already fallen, and it is now up to the British. And by the way, this is like 140s-ish. The Brits, they're basically an fallen empire, double, triple, whopper fallen empire specifically. France would forcefully be joined, and Portugal would be forcefully integrated, and the United Kingdom would fight for a very long time until a naval invasion would be formed after the fall of Gibraltar, causing the Brits to name it weakened, and some air and spatial invasions. Yes, space invasions. Invasions from space. This would cause an devastated Europe, with Europe now being a fallen continent. And the Germans which are very angry that they nuked the French. The French, you know what they get? They get completely milked for it. Everything they have destroyed. Belgium isn't that nuked, but still, the European Union is disbanded because now, from causing a 100-year-old institution to die, the Germans would take a bunch of Alsace, Lorraine, Luxembourg, while this area up to these areas would join Italy, which was a relatively weak by law area. The French would absolutely get cooked, and the remnants of and the Germans don't want the French to be any instability against any puppet government. So also Andorra joined Spain because France is supposed to make Europe pay for this. Speaking of Britain, basically is nothing. I'm sorry, but Britain in this timeline is as much worse as the post-nuke Eastern Europe or the French that get basically their economy and military set back to the 1700s. Yep. Along with that, the buffer state of Burgundy and the Britannia. And by the way, the rest of France would actually now be divided between the Duchy of Normandy and the French would actually try to elect a monarch, but it would quickly fall into feudal bickering, as many feudal vassals would called with France only controlling these areas. The rest would be controlled by several other dukes. And France straight up collapses into feudalism. And to represent what the Kingdom of France would actually look like, let's show this. This is officially Kingdom of France, but the Kingdom of France only controls this area. The nuclear winds, since Finland and Sweden are nuked very much, Poland is nuked very much too. The War of the Rights of the Nations would cause many problems, as since Kaliningrad only relieves the Polish migrants, as most of Königsberg was, as the Germans only really kept it. Kaliningrad becomes the Free State of Prussia, which would be expanded, which would decide to expand, and the Free State of Prussia would become the Peasant Republic of Prussia. The Europeans, which had remained peaceful and after the Poles, this would absolutely cause some tensions, and Russia is still currently recovering from that war. And of course, let's also move into India, which we really didn't cover for like 30 years. That's because I think the communists here are real powerful. So this time the communists invade Miwa. the commune of India would actually be really strong and actually able to do something against these guys. So let's start with, at first they would actually make really good gains. They would be aided by the Sikh Empire up in here, which not really aided. They would start their own separate war. They would invade Islamabad land and Kashmir. Kashmir's capital is still way up north, so the plains areas get easily captured in just a few days. Islamabad really just falls due to the high militarism. Here in the Sikh Empire, Kashmir eventually surrenders, and the Sikh Empire would expand massively. By this point, the area where the Sikh Empire started would be known as capital of the Sikh Empire. The Sikh, in order to preserve their rule, actually would ally themselves with the anti-communists. They would move their troops down south, causing the communists to fail, and their troops are now currently overextended. Salian, led by a nationalist party who claims descent from the Empire of Chola, from, from the Empire of Chola, would decide to move in and move in. This would be a massive humiliation as their main power center would fall, with Calcutta being on the chopping block, as Calcutta is also really near the border. Calcutta, the city of Calcutta, also falls in months. The communist Indians this time are defeated. Same with the Sindh autocratic, and the Sikh annex the Sindh technocratic empire, and they get Mumbai, which is by this point a center of technology, marvel, and learning. Mumbai is one of the main cultural centers of this world now, and the Bengal would start forming like the kingdom of Orissa and the new Chola Empire. There's no idea that India exists. It's still currently divided into princedoms, the Dravidian Confederation, Hyderabad, and whatever here. So basically, India once again falls to princedom, and for some reason, new feudalism has been achieved in both France and India. America really isn't new feudal because they haven't really experienced feudalism, so they didn't have romanticism towards it that much at least. They were just a romanticism towards like the 50s. Now, during these dire times, the kingdom, no, not the kingdom, the Republic of Poland, Czechia, Slovakia unite. Poland's king is a Poland is technically a kingdom, right? Poland's king is Jesus. Yep, for some reason Jesus. Goated in my opinion because I'm Christian. That's why. So they're not really going to become a monarchy anytime soon. Maybe feudalism, but still not like the Piast family would make a comeback somewhere. So yeah, basically. Oh yeah, 520 seconds. I don't know what to do. Maybe Hadrian's Fall following.